What is up, everyone? It is Jim here. Happy Friday. Hope everyone's having a good
What is
day.
up, everyone? It is Jim here. Happy Friday. Hope everyone's having a good day.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back on stream. I had a little bit of technical issues earlier this week. My internet basically mysteriously went down for like, I don't know, a good 48 hours on Tuesday night, and I had like was on tech support, all this kind of drama, and then magically it returned um, like Thursday night basically. So or Thursday day. So I'm happy about that because I was very very worried that my internet would not be up for a bit because the cable company basically said that they wouldn't be able to send someone out till April 7th, which is like late next week. So I was in a bit of the shits to be fair. All right, so today we got a few things to talk about and a few things to kind of announce, I guess, some exciting news. I got some exciting news and some not so exciting news. But while I am going through that, I'm just going to talk to you guys what I'm going to be working on tonight. So if you've been following me on Instagram, which you definitely should, if you don't follow me already, it's JimboV_paints on Instagram. It's my personal Instagram account. Basically, I post work in progress pictures there, sometimes completed stuff, and then just random other stuff as well. You'll know that I acquired four more Death Shroud, so I got well, not technically four more, but I got three Death Shroud that I'm working on, and I also got Lord Festius, which is the like snap fit Chaos Lord, and I converted him with the Death Shrouds. He already has a scythe, but it's kind of ugly. So I gave him one of the scythes from the Death Shroud to be like a fourth Death Shroud, essentially a champion, because I already have like two Lords of Contagion. Hey Dan, how's it going? Um, and then I probably won't work on them tonight, but I just wanted to show them to you. So I converted up four more possessed. So I already have four possessed, sorry, six possessed, and I converted up four more to bring my total unit count to 10. So these are kind of the possessed. So they're basically a mix of bits, the Putrid Blight King bits, and Plague Marines. So this is kind of the state they're in. They're basically mostly base coated and washed. But I'm not going to be working on them tonight. I want to finish all the Death Shroud 100%, and then I'm going to come back to these possessed um, probably next week because I don't think I'm going to finish these Death Shroud tonight. And that's actually a really good segue. So um, I mentioned earlier that my internet was down for 48 hours, and at the time I wasn't sure if it was going to be back um, by April 7th, or sorry, by this Saturday, which tomorrow, which was when my WTC WTC Greek Hammer game was scheduled against Team England, and so I asked my coach Cody if he could play the game for me. I basically connected him with my opponent on Team England. They arranged the game and they already played the game. So even though even though hey Grim Hokage, thanks for following. Um, Even though I have internet now, I didn't know that I would have internet, so I got them to schedule the game and play the game. So for those of you that were hoping to check me play the TTS game with Team England, unfortunately I will not be playing it. So that's the first piece of bad news. Second piece of bad news is um, also not knowing that. Thanks for the subscription, man. I appreciate it. Also not knowing that I would have internet this week. I planned a camping trip because it's Easter weekend. I think it's Good Friday today. I don't know. I don't really follow. I just know it's a holiday. I don't really. I'm not very religious, so I don't really follow that stuff. So I think it's Easter. I'm not quite sure. So I'm actually going to be going away tomorrow morning for the weekend. I'm just going to go on like a day camping trip out into the woods. So I will not be streaming on Sunday either. So Saturday, Sunday streams are canceled, which is why I'm also very excited to stream tonight because it's going to be the last time I'm going to stream till next Monday. Now, a few announcements which are exciting, and I'm going to tell you guys about them. So the very first announcement I have is, well, it's not really an announcement, but it's more just something I want to let everyone know. This podcast, my weekly streams, this is mostly going to be on this channel essentially. This is mostly going to be comprised of a few things. It's going to comprise of kind of daily paint streams where I kind of shoot the shit with you guys, hang out, paint, just kind of do the fun stuff. Um, we have Thursdays, every Thursday, the Best Overall Show with me and David Koska co-hosting, and that's obviously like a bit of a variety show. We cover a lot of different topics. Um, and I also, but if you guys are looking for more competitive content, if you guys want to hear me talk about more competitive stuff, I do record on a podcast called the Exterminatus Podcast with Ray and Eric. They're based out of Arizona. And if you're interested in hearing kind of super competitive, very competitive focused podcast, definitely check out our podcast. We record every Sunday night. I think the episodes come out on Mondays, and you can subscribe to that on any of your podcast apps. So make sure to check that out. We go through the ITC, we go through specific events. It's very like list heavy and like tactics heavy, whereas this is gonna be more of like I guess a variety show and Jim hanging out with you guys kind of style cast. Um, that's the first announcement. So make sure to check me out on the Exterminators podcast. They're giving me a pretty hard time for not talking about it enough, but it is another podcast that I do. So if you subscribe, please check it out. Second cool announcement. Um, yeah, man. Thanks, man. So second cool announcement. Well, it's not really an announcement, but just a recap. So last night on the Best Overall Shows, episode 3, we had John Weiermiller on. He is the head judge of the LVO and kind of a very known member of the community. It's a really great episode. We really got into it with him on like judging and kind of like how he got into judging, and also just like a lot of like very kind of sticky topics when it comes around like how we as a community should be dealing with um, various things, right? Whether it's like cheaters or fixing results, all those kinds of things. So it's a really good episode. I would highly recommend checking it out. And that we film that every Thursday. Next week on that show we have Bobby Clark. Bobby Clark is a guy that I really look up to. He's a Golden Demon winner, commission painter, and he's based out of the UK. So next week's show will actually be not at 6 p.m. I believe we're going to be recording at like 2 p.m. PST. So make sure to check that. I'll triple check the time and confirm that. And I will be updating the time on the Twitch schedule and making sure that I make sure it's announced exactly what time it is. But because Bobby is in the UK, we're going to be recording a little bit earlier, and I still want to do it live, right? So I didn't want to do something pre-recorded. So he's going to be our guest next week, and I'm very excited to talk to him. And what we're going to really talk about is, commission painting. I think there's a lot of like, I guess, mystique around commission painting, like how people get into it. I want to really find out like what keeps him motivated. So lots of really interesting things to talk about next week when we talk to Bobby. And then the third announcement I have, I think that's the second or third announcement. The third announcement I have, and this is kind of the big one, next Tuesday, I'll be launching a new show. So right now we have the Hobby Time chats, and that's with me. That's weekly. That's very kind of loose, casual. I don't do much planning for these shows. It's just me hanging out painting with you guys. Thursdays is going to be the Best Overall show. That's with me and David Koska. And that, again, is a bit of a variety show. We cover lots of different topics, and obviously from painting to lore to everything like that. And it's more of a group discussion. We're going to have lots of guests on. And then next week, Tuesday, and we're launching. Well, I say we as if there's more than one person here. It's just me. Next week, I'll be launching a new show called The Politics of Plastic. And The Politics of Plastic is going to be basically a one-on-one show where every week we're going to pick one really deep topic, and we're going to deep dive into that topic and have a really kind of like rigorous debate on one topic that is, I don't want to say controversial, but something that is maybe not talked about enough in the community, something that people generally don't discuss, something that's not competitive. So for next week's episode, and it'll be me with one guest. So every week I'm going to bring on a guest, someone that I think is going to be able to talk about that subject matter. Um, and so I'm really excited for that show because we're going to be able to kind of have a long form discussion on singular topics. And that's something that I'm very excited about. So next week, just to announce, and this is you guys are hearing world exclusive on the channel, I have Lou Rollins on. Lou Rollins is one of the top hobby track players. He is I believe he lives in California. He's a huge hobbyist, consummate painter, great guy, honestly, super awesome guy. And what we're going to be discussing next week on Tuesday at 6 p.m. is the topic is whether pro painted armies should be eligible for best painted awards or any awards for that matter. So that's going to be a really good discussion between two hobbyists, having kind of really getting into the weeds on that and talking about like the ethics of it, the morality of it, and what we think. And so that's going to be a weekly show, and I have a big list of topics that I want to start deep diving into. So that's going to be every Tuesday at 6 p.m. moving forward. So two weekly shows, and then obviously the regular paint streams on this channel. So if you guys are enjoying the content, which I hope you do, please make sure to like and subscribe on both YouTube, Facebook, Patreon. I don't actually have Patreon, and I never will. My OnlyFans? No, I don't have OnlyFans either. Facebook and on YouTube and Twitch, which is what we're on right now, and then just make sure to share the podcast, let people know if you guys are enjoying it. If you have any comments or any ways that I can improve the podcast, it's not a podcast, but actually it is, because fourth surprise announcement is that I'm going to be ripping audio from the Best Overall Show and Politics of Plastic and distributing them in podcast form. So I'm just getting it all set up still. I already have the first 2 episodes of the Best Overall Show ready to go, but I want to I just got to get some like cover art, label art, and stuff like that. So stay tuned for when that link to the RSS feed goes live. But you'll be able to get it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc. So wherever you normally get podcasts, and so you'll be able to listen to the show, just the audio versions, if you can't make it to the live stream or don't want to watch it on YouTube. So stay tuned, looking for that as well. And we're going to be doing that for the Politics of Plastic and for the Best Overall Show. But this stream, this kind of daily hobby stream, because it's a little bit more raw. I'm not going to be doing a podcast for this. Whew. All right, that's everything. So that's all the announcements. I don't think there's anything else, but I do. Yeah, so I'm gonna get into some painting. I'm gonna start doing some painting, and I'm gonna just kind of chat about um, some shit, I guess, that has been going on. But if you guys have any questions for me, please make sure to let me know. If there's anything you want me to talk about, or if any like questions, let me know. So yeah. Um, so other cool things that are happening in my life. I think I mentioned this on a few episodes, but I'm going to be recording with the guys that play on tabletop in a few weeks. So April the 12th, in about 10 days from now. That's why I'm painting these Death Trout, because I'm bringing a really like disgusting, over the top Death Trout heavy list. I'm actually probably going to run the Terminus Est Assault Force from the new Cacardon. How do you say that? Cardon. And so I'm going to be running a Terminus Est Assault Force against Dark Angels, and I'll be recording with them next Tuesday. And they take quite a while to edit their episodes. If you haven't checked out Playing on Tabletop, guys, you absolutely have to. It's an amazing channel. I think they've really like defined like cool battle reports, and they've only improved over time. I was actually watching. I went to watch their very first battle report that they ever did was last in 2019 at the West Coast GT, and it was featuring none other than yours truly. Um, and It's crazy how much they've improved over time. And in a year and a half, they've gotten almost 130,000 subscribers in like less than 2 years, which is incredible. So definitely go check them out if you don't already subscribe to those guys. Their battle report, like, look, and this is coming from someone that literally hates watching battle reports. Like, I don't like watching battle reports, but I'll watch the play on ones because they're just super entertaining. So I'm going to be recording with them on the 12th, which is not this Sunday coming up. Is it? No, it's not this Sunday. Uh, oh yeah, so it's the following Sunday, the 11th. Sorry, Sunday the 11th. So that's going to be exciting, and I'm excited to play that game. And hopefully, when the episode goes live, you guys can join me. I think I might actually try to do like reaction to it. So that could be really fun. Um, and then second, while I'm down there, I'm gonna actually be doing an army showcase with all my chaos. So I have a lot of chaos that I've been painting over the years. And when I say over the years, I actually only mean since the start of 8th edition, because that's how long I've been playing. That's how long since I started collecting 40k again. I did play Chaos. I did play 40k in 3rd edition, but um, I didn't. Where'd my desktop audio go? That's weird. Ah, I haven't played it. So I'll throw some music on, guys. Let me know if the music level's good, okay? Um, how's that? Not too loud? Show me a sign, chat, Twitch chat, or uh, some other chat, YouTube chat, if you're on YouTube. Or if you're on Facebook, go watch on YouTube and Twitch, because that's a lot more helpful for me. Okay, great. I just want a little bit of noise. Okay, so anyways, as I was mentioning, can you guys see that? I'm going to be doing an army showcase with Play on Tabletop, and they've done a few of these army showcases, so if you do check out their channel, make sure to look at some of the army showcases to kind of see what kind of format it is. Um, And the reason I said I would do it is because Chris Jones, who is a guy that's also from Vancouver, he was on recently and he had like basically a table's worth of Dark Angels. And I was thinking to myself, like, I think I might actually have more Chaos. Um, so I'm going to be bringing my entire painted Chaos army since basically the start of 8th edition. And I was like trying to figure out how much Chaos I actually had. So I loaded up Battlescribe last night and I started adding. So basically, what I did with Battlescribe, for those of you that aren't familiar, is you can basically add, like, normally when people make a Battlescribe list, they'll add like one army to the uh, to the program, and then or like two or whatever, and then each one will have like its own detachment. But if you want to just add up like a lot of points, you can basically add like all 5 factions to like a single roster, and you set them as unbound, which basically is a detachment type that lets you have like as much of everything. There's like basically no restrictions, and so it's really helpful for using that tool to add up lists. So as I was doing this, I first did my Death Guard because I just finished. I've been painting that the most, and so it was definitely the thing that was like freshest in my mind as far as what I have, because I didn't want to actually have to go and like pull everything out and go through it. Like I sat there and I would like look at a unit entry and I'm like, do I have this? Yes. How many do I have? So, and then I would add it in. So I was trying to do the entire thing by memory of like what I own. And just Death Guard alone, I have around 7,000 points, almost 8,000 points of painted Death Guard. And this is painted to like my standard, right? So high tournament standard. Um, and then as I started to add the other armies, I have like a pretty beefy computer. I have like 32 gigs of RAM. I have like a Ryzen 5, I think. So I have a pretty beefy computer. Um, Battlescribe started to like chug, man. Like it was so slow. I was trying to add blood letters, and every time I pressed the up arrow to like add another blood letter, it would take like 4 seconds to like register, because like the amount of like units that I had loaded into Battlescribe was just starting to get a little bit too much. So I had to actually, instead of doing like one big roster with like literally every model I own, what I did was I did the Death Guard, I saved it, and then I kind of started a new one and kind of repeated that process for each faction. So I have essentially five rosters now that can contain every model that I own. Sorry, and let me be clear, every painted model that I own. I didn't include anything that was unpainted. Any guesses as to how much chaos I have between the 5 factions? So Thousand Suns, Death Guard, Chaos Space Marines, Demons, and Chaos Knights. So there's 5 chaos factions. Any guesses as to how many points I had? I'll give you guys a second to think about it. And you gotta remember, this is what I've painted since the start of 8th edition. So this is probably around, so about 5 years, right? I don't know when 8th edition came out. So think about that too. It's not like a lifelong collection. Let me see if anyone guesses. The only hint I will give is that the Death Guard is the most amount I have, which is actually surprising. I thought I would have more. But I guess I actually haven't painted a ton of everything. Yeah, in points. It's like, and it's Price is Right. It's not Price is Right rule, so it's just closest. You can go over if you want. Give me a number between, like, it's over 8,000 points because that's just my Death Guard. But and keep in mind, factions like Knights, Chaos Knights, I only have a few things, so it's not like a ton of points for Chaos Knights because they're bad. But if anyone can guess within like, let's say 500 points, I will give them a prize. I don't know what the prize will be, but it'll be a prize for sure. Brian, any guesses, man? $11K, a little low. Little low. Let's see here. Anyone else? Anyone else? Oh, no, I've already painted it all. So, this is more about how much do you think I have painted. Oh no, it's just like I literally okay, I'll just tell you guys. It's 20,000 points of chaos between the 5 factions. I have fully painted. At like the level that I paint. If you think about it. So, why am I telling you this? Because I'm going to be doing an army showcase at Play on Tabletop, where I'm going to bring every model that I have owned that's painted, and putting it out on basically a table at once, and going to be doing basically like a full like showcase essentially. So I'm super excited for that because I've never actually had all my chaos out on one table at once. And so not only am I excited to see it myself, but I'm excited to show everyone because I feel like I've put like it's crazy how much work I've put into it, and it's like I'm really proud of like how much army that I have. So I'm very excited to show you guys, and hopefully the episode that doesn't take so long to go through. So, but yeah, so the breakdown is about 7,000 points of Death Guard, about let's say 800 points of Knights, Chaos Knights, which is not that much. Demons, I have about 4,000 points. Chaos Space Marines, I have around, I think I actually wrote it down somewhere. Here it is, on a sticky note. Chaos Space Marines, I have 3,800 points. Demons, I have 3,600 points. Thousand Suns, I have 3,000 points. So adding them up, and then Death Guard around 7,700 points. So, and that's with 0 upgrades, by the way. That's just like literally the unit with like the amount of models I have to get it to, like just for the models, assuming they have just like basic upgrades. So I'm sure if I upgraded the army, it would be closer to like 25,000 points. I'm sure I could find 5,000 points of upgrades to go in that army. So yeah, it's kind of crazy when I think about it, considering that like I basically started painting that army at the start of 8th edition, just before like 8th edition dropped. So to think I've painted 20,000 points in 5 years, it's kind of like, it's kind of cool. And that's not just what I've painted. I've also painted probably 4,000 points of Soul Drinkers. I've painted like a bunch of commission work. I've done a Necromunda warband. I've done a yeah, like it's just mental how much I've painted in 5 years. I think I'd probably paint like a few hundred, like at least like 1,000 models a year, I feel. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Last year, I feel like I probably painted like 500 models at least. It was crazy, so just with COVID and stuff, so. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with me. It's gonna be next Sunday, not this Sunday, the following Sunday. And I'm just kind of worried though about like actually getting everything there, because I have like 4 figure cases, but they're all full already. And then I have another like, I don't know, probably 5,000-6,000 points that's just like on my shelves. That army case that got stolen was probably around 2,200 points, but I actually got that back, so that's not like in addition to, or that's not like missing. I did end up getting the army back. I don't know if you knew that. So anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'm not sure how I'm going to transport it all. I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 figure cases, like pack airs, not small ones. And then I have a massive, sorry, pack 720s, 3 of them, and then I have a pack air, which is like massive. And I still have like 3 shelves full of miniatures that don't have cases that I just keep on my shelf because I don't have storage space for them. So I did order one more battle foam case, and I'm not sure if it'll arrive by then. So I think I might have to just like literally get like cardboard boxes and just like put my models in them, which is always scary. Um, and then yeah, the fucked up part is, so I live downtown Vancouver, and the Playon guys, their studio is in like Port Coquitlam or like Port Moody, which is like a good like, I don't know, 45-minute hour drive on a good day out there. So it's not close. So I gotta drive like an hour on like sketchy highway to with like my models in boxes all the way to uh, this like filming thing. So I'm a little worried. Can you imagine if I got in a car accident and like just destroyed all my chaos, all 20,000 points? How mental would that be? That'd be crazy. I don't even want to think about it. I think I would just like hope I die in that car accident. Probably not actually, but I'd repaint it. I wouldn't care. What else? Commissions are pretty steady right now. I have one Karn commission that I'm working on. I was just waiting on a part for it, but it just arrived, so I gotta go pick it up. And then I have a massive Dark Angels commission that I'm just waiting on the last few bits to get here. So I'm probably gonna be starting that next week, and that's gonna be basically not done in traditional colors. It's gonna be done in kind of like a turquoise. Here's actually the test model for the chapter. So it's gonna be kind of like a. This is just a test model. I did this in about an hour. So the final models for the commission, it's gonna have like much deeper shading, edge highlighting, things, a lot more detail picked out. But I wanted to kind of give the client just a bit of a test as far as like what the general scheme was gonna be. So that's gonna be cool. It's a cool little army to do. After painting so much chaos, painting Marines is like gonna be like a dream, right? And then I also have another little Death Guard commission that I'm gonna be working on. It's just two PBCs and a Demon Prince, which is like I'll bang that out in like 2 days, so I'm not worried about that. But the big one's gonna be this this Dark Angels army, and so I'm gonna be doing a lot of that army on stream. So if you guys are interested in watching kind of like the evolution of an army from start to finish, a big army, like I'm gonna basically do it in one big step. So all my basing, all my assembly, all my base coding, like it's gonna be very mass produced because it's such a large army. Maybe not the characters, and I'm obviously not gonna do everything to completion, but I'm gonna definitely do the first like 3 or 4 steps of the army, like base coding, assembly, bases themselves, you know, airbrushing and like shading on everything kind of all at once. And then I'll probably go in and kind of do units at a time just to not kill myself, because when you're painting that many models at once, and it's probably around 4,000 points of Dark Angels, you need to have little breaks. Well, I need to have little breaks. One of the things I'm going to be talking to Bobby about next week is how he manages those kinds of projects. And AOS commissions, I'm just trying to think. Not at the moment. There's a few people that like nothing. I guess I would say nothing finalized, right? Like I've had a few inquiries regarding AOS commissions. I did pre-order Curse City though, so I'm going to be painting my Curse City box on stream. That's going to be really exciting. So I'm really excited to paint that, and I'm hoping that, you know, maybe yeah. So that'll be probably the closest thing I'll be doing to AOS, I guess, is the Curse City box when that comes out, and I think that's next week. So I'm excited to paint that. But if you guys have any suggestions for like models that I should paint, let me know. I generally don't have a ton of time for just like random models that I paint for no reason, but I'm definitely willing to like potentially look at special models and stuff like that. And then I'm also waiting on 2 resin models that are 3D printed that I ordered. And actually, it's kind of funny that I ordered them. So it's basically a Mortarion and a Horus model that I ordered from a 3D printer out in Europe. And the designs are from this guy called 3D Print Guy. I'll see if I can pull up the designs for you. So let me just see here without ruining everything, because I'm awful at internet and streaming and stuff. Let me see here. Is this the one? No. Hold on, guys. I will show you guys. Sources, here we go. Oh. Okay. I am gonna figure this out for you because I am stubborn as fuck, and I will figure out how to make sure you guys can see what I can see. So give me 1 sec. I'm gonna pull them up. Sign in. But oh yeah, so what I was saying is I ordered these models, and thankfully I ordered them just in time because the sculptor and the resin artist, they got like DMCA's from not DMCA's, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, like cease and desist. Sorry, they got cease and desist from Games Workshop because um, the models are like too close to. Well, they're basically like ripoffs of GW IP. So the lawyers, the GW lawyers, gave them cease and desists, and now the models are no longer available. Like they've disappeared, these sellers. So I managed to get like the last like basically 2 of these models. Okay, so I got one model here. 1 sec. Come on. Open. God damn it. Copy image location. Okay, that's one. Oh fuck, I just closed it. I'm so bad at this. Bear with me, guys. 1 sec. I really want to show you guys these models because they're like unavailable now. You can't get them. Copy image location. Okay, so here we go. Hang tight. All right, so this is the first one. Let me see here. Nope, you don't see it yet. Okay. Okay, so this is the first one. This one's called basically he's like a Mortarion. That's the best I can do for like the size because the site is gone, and these are like the pictures from my like confirmation email. So this is basically like a pre-demon Mortarion that I ordered, and this is like 4 inches tall, so it's like demon prince size. And then the second one I ordered is this guy here. This is Horus. So this is a Horus model that I ordered. And again, he's like about 4 inches tall. So again, you can see obviously why they got like cease and desist from Games Workshop because they're basically like GW ripoffs of their IP. But I managed to get these ordered before the sellers like went down. So I'm hoping these arrive like next week, and I'm gonna start on those as well. I think these are like this Horus. I think I want to spend a ton of time on it. Like I normally don't do like competition level pieces, but it's something that I think I want to spend like a good amount of time on and paint it to like the highest level that I can paint because I very rarely do that these days. I like to often paint for commissions or I paint for myself in armies, and I paint pretty well for my armies, but I like to paint to like fairly like normal standard. So waiting on those models should be exciting. What do I got here? Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of my upcoming projects, I guess. That's a very long answer, K-Pi, is that your name, to your AOS question, whether I'm going to be painting AOS. So the short answer is no, but also yes. And also Primarchs, illegal Primarchs, internet Primarchs. So yeah, I think the Death Guard one, I should be able to, I think he'll be small enough that I can use as a Demon Prince. But the Horus model I think is just going to be kind of a display piece, which is weird for me. I almost never paint display pieces. So I'm not sure what, like it'd be cool if I could maybe use him as like even a, oh man, I'm almost tempted. Okay guys, what do you think of this? Maybe this is a dumb idea because it's such a beautiful model. But what if instead of painting it like a model, I like build a piece of terrain out of it? Like I put it up on a plinth like a statue, and I do it like a kind of a horse statue. Like I paint it all like marbly and like almost like it's something that would go on like my display board rather than like a model. I don't really like that because I actually do want to paint it. Like if I had 2 of them, I would definitely do that, but I kind of wish I kind of want to paint it like actually as Horus. I feel that's more exciting for me. And I'm more motivated to do that than painting like a piece of terrain, basically. That would make a very cool display board piece though. And I'd love to show up at like a GW event with this like 3D printed like copyright infringing Horus and just see their faces. See what they say. Be like, oh, well, it's just terrain. I'll just say I sculpted it myself. No problem. All right. Well, hack on. The websites and channels you should follow are mine. No, I'm kidding. The only two I'd say avoid is Bell of Lost Souls and Spiky Bits. Definitely don't go near those websites. As far as channels that you should follow, are you looking for more tactics and tips? What are you looking for? Because there's a trillion channels out there, and depending on what your kind of content you want, I can recommend a few channels. But I'm not gonna have, there's a million channels. Okay, so tactics and tips. I would definitely follow the guys at Art of War. I would definitely follow. What else? They have some pretty good content as far as like tactics and tips. I would follow tabletop tactics is good. Glasshammer Gaming is good. They have like top tricks and stuff. Where else does tactics and stuff? What faction do you play, Hakon? Is it Hakon? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Because maybe I can direct you to, like, I probably could tell you, like, a channel that someone plays, like, the faction that you play. Yeah, Goonhammer, honestly, I really, like, I used to consume a lot of video content, but I find it's, like, too slow. Because you can't, like, skim through video content, right? Like, you have to watch the whole thing. What I love about Goonhammer is that I can literally just, like, skim the articles for the parts I want, read it quickly, because I'm a fast reader, and then move on. Whereas with video content, if it's, like, a 10-minute video, I have to watch the full 10 minutes. Check out Almost Pro Gaming. I don't know how much content he's doing these days, but he's got some good stuff. Let me just look through my channel list here, and I'll tell you who I subscribe to that I think is worth your time. YouTube switch account. Let's see here. Honest Wargamer for sure. They have a few good shows. I'm just going through my list here. Art of War 40K, I already mentioned. Tabletop Titans, I already mentioned. Scarredcast usually has good tactics. What else? I'm going through all my subscriptions. Glasshammer Gaming, I already mentioned. I think does Warp Charge Gaming do that stuff? What else? Let's see. Tabletop Tactics, obviously, because it's called Tabletop Tactics, so they better have Tabletop Tactics. What else? I'm just going through my list of all the. I didn't realize how many YouTube channels I subscribe to, but I subscribe to like 300 channels. It's mental. So yeah, those would be kind of. Auspex Tactics is good. Vanguard Tactics as well with Stephen Box. It's good. I don't know if some of that stuff's paywalled though. That's the only thing. Goonhammer's free, so I honestly like. If you want to just like meta list and net list, just go to their channel. They usually have all the good stuff. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Anytime. Whoa. Oh shit, I got paint all over myself. I just saw something while I was doing that, and I was like, oh, I should talk about that. What did I see? I saw something, I was like, oh yeah, that's something that's interesting. I should talk about that on the show. I can't remember. Yeah, so that would be the channels that I would That would be the channels that I would check out if I were you. But honestly, man, like, and this is just my experience, like those websites are always good for, like, if you want to like learn a specific thing. The best practice. Hey Richard, how's it going, man? The best advice I can give you though is to improve is to just play. Um, or if you have specific questions about stuff, ask specific questions. But watching high-level battle reports or those YouTube channels can help. But a lot of the game comes down to just playing. Richard, how are you? So that's kind of my advice if you're gonna do it. So if you guys are ever wondering how I do all my Death Guard, so basically I'll kind of take you through a little bit of my Death Guard armor. I'll show you a few different stages. And it's actually super simple. So hopefully this is helpful if you're kind of, I think you can apply this technique to other colors as well. I've done this with green. I've done this with like blue. So anytime you're looking for kind of like a weathered, grimy look, this is kind of the way I would go. So let me just pull a model here. Okay, so this is, so I'll show you guys a few different stages here on the Death Guard. So first thing I do with all my models for my Death Guard is I base coat everything in Ricard's Flesh. And this is just straight Ricard's Flesh through my airbrush. Nothing special. I just do a black undercoat. I don't zenithal. I don't do anything. Just straight Ricard's Flesh. And then I go and do all my brass areas in secret metal, decayed metal. Okay. So really easy. So base coat, all the trim, all the base. Okay. Then I do the entire model. I will do a wash of secret weapon algae, and this is basically a mix of 50-50. Sorry, it's about like 75% algae with 25% lamine medium. And the reason I use lamine medium is just to A, help it flow a little bit better, but B, also just so that it's slightly less dark, because if you do straight algae, it's going to be quite dark. And once you're done that step, this is basically what the models look like. Okay, so you basically wash the whole model in that, and now this one obviously has some other parts painted, but as far as the armor and the brass is concerned, that's what it's going to look like. So it's going to be kind of this like off green, kind of like gross little like blonde green. Oh shit, I just realized my parking expired and I'm probably going to get a ticket, so let me just plug my parking really quick. God damn it, I knew I was forgetting something. I'm such a dum-dum sometimes. I always get tickets, like constantly. Let's see here. Oh, what the hell? Oh yeah, that's why. Guys, you guys distracted me and look what happened. I'm gonna get a parking ticket. And I ruined my video because now I'm in the middle of the video. I'm trying to plug parking. Great, awesome. Go, Jim. Okay. Boom. All right, parking refreshed. All right. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. So the model's gonna look like this once all the wash is done. And then the next stage is I go and I basically do a very kind of streaky, thinned out version of Ricard's, just pure Ricard's Flesh back over all the armor areas, just like this. And you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but you can see how, like, let me get my little tool, like Rudy from Alpha Investments, I got my tool. You can see here that you can still see some of the green through the model. It's very blotchy, and that's actually on purpose. I want it quite blotchy. And when I do this paint, I kind of pull the brush strokes down very thinly, okay? And then I'm going to do the next step, which is 50% bright warm gray from Proacryl and 50% Ricard Flesh. And I'm basically going to do a pattern, and I'm going to just show you guys the pattern that I do. I'll do it on this guy so you can see. So I take the model, you can see how it's kind of streaky. Grab my, this is the 50-50, and I'm basically just going to pull towards the tip. So just quickly, kind of these quick streaks, just like that. Okay, so see how I kind of pulled streaks like that, and then I'm going to do a side here, and I'm just going to pull down, kind of just almost like I'm almost like wet brushing downwards. What was something in there. Okay, just like that. Making sure I'm like avoiding the like cracks. Just like that, okay? So that's the next step, okay? And then the final step, basically I do the same thing one more time, and I'm gonna just show you guys with the one more time, with just pure bright warm gray. I love Rudy, man. I don't even play Magic, and I watch Rudy. He's always got his tool. So then now I'm gonna do the same thing. So I do that to all the models, and then I go back again with just the bright warm gray straight. And so just now I'm gonna just do the tips. So just at the bottom. Just like that. Just at the bottom of the greaves. And again, just going quite light and just pulling my brush downwards. See how quick this is? I'm not like doing like smooth blends or anything like that. So that's kind of the effect on the armor, right? You get this kind of like limey, streaky, textured feel. And so then the final result goes from this to something like this. So you get that kind of very streaky, textured armor with the striations. And then I go back and I'll fix any sort of areas where there's like maybe the bone color has gotten into the gaps, and I'll add a little bit of algae flesh by hand. But you end up with like a color like this. And obviously I've finished the rest of the model as well, but that's kind of the technique for the armor. And you can apply that technique to just about anything. So if you say want to do a more classic green color, you could do that with say Elysian green, Organ camo, and Death Guard green. Like you could use those and do the same kind of process, and it's actually really quick to paint, and it gives you lots of really nice texture. If you wanted to do like more of a bone color, you could do that. If you wanted to do, you know, anytime, so it's just about using your brush to add texture rather than doing these kind of like blocky layers. And what that allows you to do is paint the Death Guard quite quick with very little, like you don't have to be super careful, right? You can very quickly just paint lots of armor, and that's the technique that's gotten me through about 7,000 points of Death Guard since November. Oh shit! God damn it! Look at this message I just got. Remember I said my parking is expired? It says parking not started because I closed the app without confirming it. So now I'm definitely getting a ticket. Damn it. Oh shit, now my quote's expired. Ah, blast. Saturday, 10 a.m. Park. 16 bucks, guys. Ridiculous. Yeah, I'm excited. Who didn't parking quote expired? This is outrageous. Let me park my car. I'm about to get a ticket for sure. 10 a.m. Park. Pay and park. Quota's expired. Damn it, my app's not working. Okay, let me reload the parking app. Sorry guys, this is not that exciting, but I parked illegally. Well, not illegally, but in a place I shouldn't have. And I let my parking expire, and I didn't fix it. Oh, okay. Well, my parking doesn't want to let me park, so YOLO. If I get a ticket, I get a ticket. At this point, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna do some painting. So now you can see I'm just going. I'm doing the second color, and again now I'm being pretty sloppy. You can see how quickly I can kind of move through areas. I'm just kind of pulling my brush downwards. And for areas like this, like down here where there's like not a lot of light, I don't really bother even doing that because it's got just the base coat of the Ricard's flesh, so I don't need to go and do extra highlights down there. Do I know a quick way to dry out Seraphim Sepia? Is Seraphim Sepia a special, is that like a contrast paint? Is that just like a regular wash? I don't really know, to be honest. What is Seraphim Sepia? I mean, if it's just an acrylic wash, I mean, I don't know. I've never found acrylic drying times to be so slow that I needed to hair dry it. If anything, I'll just sometimes use my airbrush Like I'll just blow air at it with my airbrush if I really need something to dry a little bit faster from a little bit of ways away. But I've never been at a point where I'm like sitting, like dying. Like sometimes, yeah, I have to wait for stuff to dry, but it's never so long that like I would go like seek out tips to help me. Yeah, if it's just like a regular shade, man, I mean, either you're using too much or, yeah, I don't know what kind of weather you're in, but my stuff dries pretty quick, like within 20 minutes if I'm doing like a bunch of models, and it's not like too much. Speaking of, actually, hold on one sec, guys. I'm just gonna mute my mic one sec. I'll be right back. Yeah, okay, so I just read your note. Honestly, dude, if you're using so much, like, I don't know why you're, I guess, using so much. Um, I've never used so much paint that I needed, like, drying assistance, I guess. Speaking of not drying, you guys want to check out something that I just got? Very exciting. Dun, 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 dun. I am gonna get into the world of oil painting. So I've never used oils before, so I picked up some oils. These are kind of so these three colors on the left were the recommended. Black, kind of a brown, and then white. That's kind of the ones. These are the starter paints, basically like what it's like. You can make washes with these, and then obviously white. And then I also got this pink one, and then the white obviously to highlight it. So I'm not sure when or how I'm going to use these yet, but I got those and I got some mineral spirits as well. So I'm excited to have my first foray into oil painting in the next little while. So wish me luck. Then I will feel like a true artiste. Yeah, honestly, Brian, I've never like I don't know how much wash you're using. I've honestly never had that kind of drying issue. Like if I'm saying doing like 5 models at a time and I'm doing like a heavy wash, I usually just make sure there's like if there's like super excessive amounts, I just like soak it up and then I'll just leave them for like 20 minutes and they're usually fine. So I'm not sure why you're having those issues. Make sure you shake it really well, I guess, just in case the medium and the pigment are like not quite emulsified. But I can't really think of why that would take so long. As far as the airbrush, yeah, you don't want to go so close that it blows the paint around. But I usually like, my model will say here. You can see on stream. I'll maybe hold my airbrush back here and I just kind of do these like very light passes like that. I don't like go with like, I don't go like super intense like right up to it. It's just like very light back and forth. So hope that helps, but sorry I can't help you more. So I'm just bringing in the highlights here, and you'll notice that like almost all of these models are almost like base coated in many different areas. Like I base coated almost all of the different, um, like I base coated the browns, the blacks, the metals. And the reason I do this is twofold. First, um, with Nurgle Death Guard models specifically, because there is so much like I guess quote unquote detail. There's so many like little weirdnesses about them. Like there's like tentacles in weird spots. There's like flies. There's like tubing. All sorts of different like small details. I like to base coat each area and then give it like a good wash so that I can easily distinguish between them. Because sometimes, especially on like the push whip models, um, which a lot of the Death Guard Marines are, they're kind of one piece in a lot of areas. The distinction between like various textures and surfaces sometimes becomes um, hard to tell, and I don't want to end up having to. I don't want to end up like highlighting areas the wrong color because I thought it was one thing when it was really another. And so by going through and base coating everything and then giving everything the kind of first dark wash, it really helps distinguish each area from each other. And so then when I go back, which I'm doing now, to like put in highlights, it's a lot easier for me to just like pick out the areas that I actually need to highlight rather than trying to like figure out like where there's like separation between two different textures or surfaces. So that's the first reason, and the second reason is just because um, when you base coat, you make a lot of mistakes. Like I try to base coat quite quickly, so oftentimes my brush will, like I'll have like paint, like metallic paint go on the armor, or I'll have um, like purple go on the white areas or on the metallic areas. And by base coating everything first and giving it all the wash the first, I can then go with my first highlight color and fix all those mistakes. Because generally my first highlight color is going to be applied a lot more carefully than my base coats. And there's a lot less surface area to correct when you're doing highlights, right? You can just kind of, like if there's a little bit overage, I can just throw a little highlight color on that. Whereas if um, shit, I can't even hold on to my brush. Whereas if I do it the other way, um, it's a lot harder and you got to be a lot more careful in your base coating so that you don't like accidentally ruin your highlights, right? Yeah, the maggots are probably the most annoying thing. Ixtab. I mean, not really. This model has the orb, and I think I'm just gonna paint it like I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm gonna paint it yet. I purposely didn't want to paint it metallic because I want it to kind of stick out. Maybe I'll even do some like OSL on it or something. But the orb's not really worth it as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of like bogus. Same with the chimes. I don't find the chimes worth it because basically like your death shroud, it gives them 3 inches to their contagion range, which means um, like I don't know. It just seems kind of pointless because with the -1 toughness contagion, like their guns are only 12-inch range anyways. So like it's very rare that I shoot things at 12 inches where there's like nothing else close by. And if I really need to get them more range, I can just cast that Gift of Plagues on them. Um, and then in any other time when they're in combat, well, they're in combat, so their contagion range is kind of irrelevant. Um, if it also treated their like maybe contagion as 1 round higher, which I guess it essentially does by increasing the range, that would be cool. Or if it like doubled the contagion range, that would be cool. That would actually probably be broken. Can you imagine an 18-inch range -1 toughness bubble? That'd be pretty gross. But I'm really disappointed in the Death Guard, to be honest. As the meta starts evolving, as like seeing the Drukhari book and seeing like how much options they have, it's kind of disappointing. Um, I think Nikos on Honest Wargamer, he pointed out that Death Guard have like not including the unit datasheet rules, so just like special rules that are in the book. So this is like stratagems, relics, warlord traits, and then like army-wide rules. I think there's something like 89 in the Death Guard book. Um, and the Drukhari book has 130. So they have almost like 30%, 40% more um, more rules. And that's like more warlord traits, more stratagems, more special rules, more army-wide rules. Um, and that's not including the datasheet rules, which are a lot better in a lot of cases. So yeah, I was actually hoping that the Lord of Violence was going to be like able to actually buff demon engines like they talked about in the preview. But then like he came out and he like doesn't actually do anything to demon engines. So he feels too similar to the Lord of Contagion. So I'm not really sure. I don't know. It's a bit of a missed opportunity. Um, as far as I'm concerned, to like do something really cool. Like we don't have Lord Discordance, right? So it would have been really cool to have like a kind of on foot equivalent of Lord Discordant that can like buff demon engines, maybe like can give I don't know, help them move a little bit quicker, or reroll once to hit and reroll once to wound. Because Death Guard doesn't really, I mean they have flag weapons, so I guess they don't really need a lieutenant. Um, but yeah, the problem with Death Guard and I think Chaos in general is like they're, I don't know, like it's supposed to be a slow army, right? But like here's the thing. So the Death Guard, for instance, it's supposed to be a super durable slow army, but they like release an FAQ that nerfs their speed with the movement thing in Forest, which is like super brutal, like moving 2 inches a turn. And second, they don't really give you any tools to make you tougher. So like all the toughness of the Death Guard is basically whatever's on their datasheet. You don't get any sort of stratagems to give you like look at Dark Angels. You have like Jinx saves, you have Transhuman, you have things that give you like Feel No Pains, you have things that reduce damage. Like they should have really given them stratagems and like tools to actually make them even more tough, right? Then at least if you're gonna be super slow ass, it's not the end of the world if like you just don't die, right? But it's like they didn't give us any tools to actually make them situationally tougher, whether that was through like a special stratagem. Like I would have killed if there's like so think about this. 2 CP, select one Death Guard unit, it gets 5+ Feel No Pain for the face. How amazing would that be? It's easy, right? 2 CP, give one Death Guard unit Transhuman, right? Easy, right? Like these are the kinds of things that Death Guard should have. They shouldn't really have all these like weird there's like 4 stratagems just for the characters, and like most like there's the Blight Bombardment, there's the Relic Explosion one, there's the Character on Death, and there's just the Character in Combat. But it's like your characters are so slow, and like there's so many restrictions on the stratagems. Like I'd much rather trade one of those for something like just being able to give a unit a 5+ Feel No Pain for a phase for like 2 CP. Like that would be a great stratagem, right? And the fact that like things like Cloud of Flies is now 4 CP, it's insane for Terminators, which is all you're gonna really use it on because no one takes Plague Marines, and you can't use it on Poxwalkers because they're not bubonic Astartes, of course. And I had this whole rant the other day, which makes no sense. The fact that like most of the Death Guard stuff is not even bubonic Astartes, so you can't even benefit from like a lot of the rules. Like none of the demon engines are bubonic Astartes. So they don't even get the fucking Legion trait. It's crazy. But like every Space Marine vehicle gets the Legion trait. So it's just really frustrating when you see kind of things like that. Yeah. Like the plague companies were a good start, but they didn't go far enough, They're not like, why is it that like it should have been more than a stratagem and like I don't even mind that it's just a stratagem and a relic, but like I don't know, they could have maybe done a little bit more, like actually like an army-wide, a legion-wide benefit, right? Like so, and the fact that you only get one stratagem means that like basically the warlord traits for the most, except maybe the ferryman, are kind of useless. So really it's about just teching into whichever stratagem works. Yeah. Well, anything would have been. And yeah, I get it that they want to take it away, but like you should still be able to bring it back through like a stratagem. Or like, how is it that Dark Angel's Terminators get built-in transhuman, and we don't even get like anything or like that? Like maybe Death Shroud have one where like uh, they always are wounded on like say 3s or higher, so it's like a slightly worse level of transhuman. Now that's not great because they're T5, so usually most things are wounding on 3s or higher anyways. But at least it would help against like certain like I don't know certain types of other things. A little bit. Or maybe give him like a 5+ Feel No Pain versus Mortal Wounds, because Mortal Wounds is a big problem. So maybe there's a strat that lets you at least have Mortal Wound protection for a phase. That could have been cool. I really hope that they do clarify like the demon summoning thing. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's pretty clear, but like if I could maybe summon in Nurgle demons, I should, well, to be honest, I should just be able to start with Nurgle demons in my army and not break my, like, because you know how they used to be in the Codex? They should have just kept them in the Codex, but it didn't break your Legion rules. Like, basically make them unaligned while they're within a Death Guard army. So, like, they kind of count as, like, they're like Death Guard Plague Marines. Or, sorry, Death Guard Plague Bearers, or Death Guard Nurglings. That would have been super cool. Because I think that's very, like, flavorful. Maybe not allowing, like, greater demons and stuff. We could have like the support characters, maybe some of the minor demons, right? If you want greater demons, you got to go full demon or bring in a demon detachment. But for like the minor characters, I don't think that would have been super OP. Like Plague Drones, Plague Bearers, and Nurglings. How cool would that have been? Super cool. Beast and Nurgle. Yeah, Dark Eldars. Dark Eldars. So the thing is, I'm starting to realize in 9th edition, the biggest thing I've started to realize, like as I've been playing more games with my Death Guard, is yes, resiliency is good, but being able to trade units and being able to trade them on your terms is better. And what I mean by that is, like the speed of an army like Dark Eldar, where they can have tons of different units and kind of trade, means that they're always going to have an advantage because, like they can kind of outmaneuver you so quickly, especially with advance and charge and fall back and charge and like super fast units, that it doesn't matter how strong you are, they just basically avoid, you just don't get to them, right? Or if you do get to them, it's on their terms, and the force is so overwhelming that it kind of, there's nothing you can do about it, right? So it's really frustrating because I feel like, just like in 8th edition, oh my back, I think I've been painting too much, my back really hurts these days. Oh, I'm gonna go down a little bit so that I'm not bending over as much. Hopefully you guys can still see that. I'm feeling like just in 8th edition how like Death Guard were one of the first books, and then they were like, they sucked basically. By like 6 months in, they were like not that good. I kind of feel like that's happening with Death Guard here. And I know Necrons are kind of in the same boat. You know, Marines are always going to be good because Dark Angels are good, White Scars are good. And until they release 9th edition supplements for those 2 books, I think Marines will continue to be good. But the problem with Marines is like, because the Codex has basically 9 supplements, there's always going to be like one good, whatever the meta is, like wherever the meta is leading, they're going to have options to kind of, they're going to always have options to like, to kind of switch out to that. Like, it's part of the reason why I painted my Soul Drinkers army as Soul Drinkers. It's so that I could essentially just run them as whatever chapter I want based on like the flavor of the month, which sounds super like, sorry, it sounds super like, I guess, like, I don't want to say like when it all costs, but that's just smart, I think, as far as I'm concerned. There we go. Can you see that? It's so hard to like have the light high enough that like it's not in the camera, but also that I can actually see the models. But yeah, Richard, I agree with you, man. Like the problem is this has become a game of speed and engaging, you know, in at the right place, the right time, right? And I'm finding more and more the Death Guard, with especially with the nerf to their like movement, they're just not fast enough, right? That's why I've been bringing like my Emperor's Children patrol with 10 Terminators and a Sorcerer, because it just gives me a little something extra to kind of reach out and touch people, and to kind of get into like the deeper board, right? Get deep in the enemy's deployment zone, and it gives me a lot of options to do that. Um, so I think I'm gonna probably, after I'm done all this Death Guard stuff, I think I'm probably gonna, I have a bits for some Noise Marines. So I think I'll probably convert up and paint 10 to 15 Noise Marines for my like Chaos Space Marines basically. But I'm concerned, I think I'm only gonna do 10 because my concern is that with the, just like Death Guard now, can only go 10 to a unit. My concern is that all the cult troops are going to be maxed at 10 as well. Like right now, Rubrics I believe can go to 10. I don't think Khorne Berserk, or sorry, Rubrics can go to 20. I don't believe Khorne Berserkers can go to 20. But I'd imagine that once the new Chaos Space Marine book comes out, they're going to cap things like the Noise Marines to 10. So I'm probably only going to paint 10, but maybe I'll do 15. Yeah, the nerf is just unnecessary, but also it feels like counterintuitive, I guess. Like I get that with like look, if you want to argue with me what the rule says on paper, I agree with you, right? The wording of the rule as they've like ruled it is correct. The problem is like the whole background of this army is that nothing slows them down. And so if you're going to tell me that they can walk through arcane spells, artillery, vortex grenades, thunderfire shells, doom bolts, tanglefoot grenades, nets, all sorts of esoteric alien weaponry and technology and magic. They can shrug that all off, but then they come along a forest, and the forest, like they're just like, oh, we're so slow, the forest. Like that for me is the part that really bothers me, is that they have this, you know, they sell them as this army that's relentless. Like no matter what, they don't ever get slowed down, and they can like basically overcome all this like fancy technology and magic and psychic spells and all this kind of stuff. But then like a little crater is like, oh shit, it's too much, you know? And that's what really bothers me, you know? It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Even if the wording is kind of rules written the way that they do describe, it bothers me that they ruled it that way. They should have been like, yes, they should have, what they should have done, the proper thing to do is leave the wording as is, or clarify the wording, and then errata the rule and say, no matter what, right? Like, so say in that, like, so if you want to clarify that something that subtracts your move distance is different than something that it affects your move characteristic, if you want to like make that distinction, that's totally fine. Make the distinction, but then errata the army rule to say that they ignore penalties to their move characteristic or their total move distance. Basically, they're unaffected by any rule that would affect their move distance or move characteristic. Easy. So you can have both. You can have your rule as written, or like your kind of bigger concept of how you want the rules to be worded. So you can maintain that, but also recognize that Death Guard should also ignore that too. It's not like either or, right? You just got to be like, I don't know, courageous, I guess, and show a little bit of like thought. So, well, the Narmal is not a Death Guard thing, right? Narmal is Demons of Nurgle. Our terrain piece is the fucking malignant, whatever that's called, the furnace. That like, so that's our like terrain piece. Yeah, but I'd imagine, so my prediction, and I think it's a very easy prediction to make, is that as the books get released, so Death Guard's the first Chaos book, so a lot of the cross-faction wording, so like Nurgle Demons, Heretic Astartes, like a lot of spells, if you think about the fact that I can Warp Time Morty still is because of the way that the keywords are worded. My guess is that once the books come out, all of that will go away. So no Nurgle Demon abilities will apply to, like any abilities in say like that Demon book will only apply to say like a special keyword that exists in the Demon book. So it'll essentially say like it'll be like Nurgle Demon Core or something like that, right? Like Nurgle Demon, like say all the Nurgle demons will have like minions of Nurgle keyword, and so all of the stuff will be keyed to like minions of Nurgle versus like Nurgle and demon. So that's my guess, and I don't think that's a very like uh that's like a very like wild guess. Like I think that's very realistic. Because they did it with the Death Guard book. Like they removed a lot of the cross book interactions. And I'd imagine that like they introduced Bubonic Astartes in Death Guard. So I'd imagine they're going to introduce a similar version of that in Chaos Space Marines. That's just for Chaos Space Marines, even though they're still Heretic Astartes. A lot of the spells and keywords and everything will be off like whatever that specific keyword is. It'll be like Chaos Space Marine Heretic Astartes or something like that. So I'm not looking forward to the day where like you can't warp time anymore, cross faction. You can't warp time Mortarian, but that day is on the horizon, I bet, because they made a very concentrated effort to remove all those crossbook keyword like interactions, I guess, with Death Guard, going the Death Guard way, and so I'd imagine they're going to do the same going into Death Guard as well. Yeah, but even like the thing is though, none of the Dark Eldar stuff works on any of the other stuff, right? So I'd imagine once those books are out, the way the keywords will change. You don't think that a Narmal will be there? So what? Okay, so I haven't. Maybe I don't know this, but what in the Dark Eldar book works on like non-Dark Eldar units, like on say like Craftworld Eldar units? Oh, the keyword is still there, but is there any rules in the book or abilities in the book that actually work across? Like is there any? Okay, Yunari's a little bit different, man. That's Yunari doesn't really count because they're by definition a mixed faction, and so there has to be some way to give them rules, and that I'm sure was intentional. But is there any like so if yeah, what did the let me just see. So what are the Thousand Suns called? I'm just gonna open list here. So Thousand Suns got a keyword called faction. That's their faction. Is it only the Forge World stuff? Let me look at one of the contemptors. Yeah, so Thousand Suns got one called Arcana Astartes. Arcana Astartes. So that's their specific faction. So I'd imagine in the Thousand Suns book when it's released, all of the Thousand Suns stratagems, warlord traits, buffs will key instead of Heretic Astartes, which they didn't already, like they were mostly Thousand Suns anyways, will be off Arcana Astartes. And then I'm just gonna look at, let me look at a basic Chaos Space Marine Forge World thing, because I feel like maybe that's gonna have, let me see here. Okay, let me load a, what should I load? Chaos Space Marine Forge World. What do we got here? Let's say a Chaos Space Marine Contemptor. So let's look at that. So there is, okay, so for Chaos Space Marines, they only still have the Heretic Astartes main keyword on the Forge World, but I'd imagine what's going to happen is they're going to key all the stuff to Legion. So it'll be like, and marks. So it'll be like, if you have a, like, let's say you have like a, I was going to say World Eater Sorcerer, doesn't exist. So you have a, an Alpha Legion Sorcerer. Say the new wording for warp time will be cast this spell on a Legion Heretic Astartes like unit, right? And so where Legion is the Legion of that sorcerer, right? So I think that's the way it's going to be worded versus moving forward. So that's my guess. Just like, and it'll also say things like core, Legion, Heretic Astartes. So now you got additional qualifiers as well. We'll see. Maybe they do introduce a whole nother set of keywords and errata the other ones. Maybe they call it like, I don't know, Astartes or something, or bad dude Astartes, something. My point stands though. They're gonna find a way to nerf soup, so that each faction just kind of like, you can still soup, but each faction will then operate independently within that soup, which is really disappointing because I thought their Khorne Demonkin book was one of the coolest books that we ever got, and I was really hoping that we would get like books like that. Like, I'd love it if they just released like a generic Chaos Demonkin book, and it was like Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch Demonkin rules, and maybe you used it with the Chaos Space Marine book, or maybe the Nurgle one used Death Guard rules, the Thousand Suns one used, and the Tzeentch one used Thousand Suns like as the main book, and then the other ones, assuming that there's no World Eaters or Emperor's Children book, yeah, well, I mean, you're right, Richard, but the even bigger issue is the fact that all 9 Space Marine Legions have a full supplement on top of the base codex, and they have custom chapters as well. Whereas with Chaos Space Marines, we have 3 books. We have Death Guard, which can't use any of the main Chaos Space Marine stuff. Thousand Suns, which doesn't use any of the main Chaos Space Marine stuff. And then we have 7 chapters wrapped up in the main Chaos Space Marine book. So with very little rules to distinguish them. So in a perfect world, we get Codex Chaos Space Marines, and then we get, and maybe that's Black Legion essentially, or maybe that's not Black Legion. Maybe that's just generic Chaos Space Marines with Legion rules for each of the legions. And then just like the Space Marines got, we get essentially 7 supplements for each of the main legions. But I would settle for just a single supplement, because there was a Trader Legion supplement in 7th edition, I think at the end of 7th, called just, it's called Trader Legions, I think, and it had like really in-depth rules for like all the main legions. And we saw with Faith and Fury from, fucking Psychic Awakening, that they do have essentially like basic outlines for each of those legions. So I would be happy, even though it's not ideal, I would be happy with, in that same format as Faith and Fury, give me like 1 supplement that just has all the Trader Legions in it. I'd say another page of stratagems per Trader Legion to match the amount of stratagems that, like, say the White Scars might have, on top of the normal Chaos Space Marine Legions. So we're talking 2 pages of stratagems, 1 page of Warlord traits, 1 page of relics per Trader Legion. And then give me a few more special characters, man. There's no Alpha Legion special character. There's no Iron Warrior special character. There's no Night Lord special character, right? So I would love it if Chaos Space Marines actually got some like love in that sense. What's the guy from has anyone read the Night Lords novels by Aaron Dembski-Bowden? Do you guys remember who's the main guy? I think he dies at the end, which is a spoiler, but like they clone him basically. He's like the main sorcerer. But it would be cool to have him. Alpha Legion would be really cool to have like a character. Maybe there's like maybe that the Forgel one, maybe they bring him into 40k. I just wish there was more background for those novels, right? They gave every Space Marine chapter a special character and a book, so I don't see why Chaos Space Marines can't have the same treatment. Or if you're not going to give them the same treatment, just give them 1 book. You know, I'm not asking for much. Maybe that is much, but you know, it's Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines. They deserve just as much love as their Trader brethren. Yeah, Richard, I agree with you. I think we will get either a World Eaters or an Emperor's Children. I'm very highly doubting we're gonna get both like as a full release. I'd imagine like they've gotta have sculpted new Khorne Berserkers by now. That kit is a trillion years old. So I'm hoping we get. The thing is, I don't just want World Eaters to come out. and it's like Codex World Eaters. Here's your Newcorn Berserkers and your Codex, and that's it. Like if they do World Eaters, I want an actual release. I want, and I know like obviously things like Iron Hands and like White Scars don't really have like whole different units per faction, but like Dark Angels do, Blood Angels do, Space Wolves do. These are like the main 4 chapters, right? So I don't think there's and Ultramarines do as well, right? So I think it would be cool if for the main 4 cult legions, so that's World Eaters, Emperor's Children, Thousand Sons, and Death Guard. So Thousand Sons and Death Guard are already done. But if World Eaters and Emperor's Children got that same treatment, and then the rest of those legions, so the other 5 legions, can just stay in the main book and use the main Chaos Space Marine range. They don't need to diverge to have like their own models. Just like White Scars and Iron Hands don't have their own models, without like besides maybe like a conversion kit. So having like a conversion sprue would be really cool, and I think they should definitely do that. Like a World Eaters sprue to give them shoulder pads, maybe some heads, chain axes, etc., etc. So I think that's the bare minimum GW needs to do to feel like that faction is getting taken care of. But we'll see if they actually do it, because I don't know. GW, after the Chaos Codex 2.0 disaster, the fucking insulting book that they released, Chaos Codex 2.0, where they literally just updated the photo of Abaddon and like put in Lord Discordance and Harkin or whatever, and then basically nerfed cultists and a bunch of other things. And then they like resold it to us as a second codex. It was fucking insulting, man. I was so mad at that. I was so excited when I found out there's a new Chaos Space Marine Codex. And then right after that, they dropped a new Space Marine Codex, which is like a full rewrite. It's like, guys, what the fuck? Like, whose idea was this? To not only was the new Chaos Space Marine book a full rewrite, but it was a full rewrite that literally broke the game. That's how good it was. Meanwhile, our reprint 2.0 didn't even have Legion traits that were updated for, like, the bare minimum they could have done is updated Legion traits to work across on vehicles and like non-infantry. The bare minimum. That would have taken maybe like 10 extra lines of text to like to adjust the Legion traits a little bit. To either give them like a secondary effect if it was a vehicle, like the Death Guard one, or just specify that they work. And obviously some of them, like Alpha Legion would have been probably OP on vehicles, but like and things like Night Lord ones wouldn't make sense. But that could have been, you know, just show that you are at least slightly self-aware of like the rules in your own book. But instead we got like this abortion of a book with like nothing cool and just a reprint. It was insulting. So I don't know. I'm pretty bitter about it. I'm bitter as a Chaos Space Marine player should be. You know? So what do you guys think? What is the book that you, if you had to pick between what I just proposed? So if you had to pick between World Eaters or Emperor's Children getting released, what would you pick? And if it was one or the other, because you know that they're not gonna get both. Which I have Terror, dude. The first, the one that they retconned. 2003. Yeah. Fuck Lorgar. Lorgar's the worst, man. Of all the Primarchs, he's like literally the... If they release a fucking Lorgar, I'm gonna be so pissed. I'll be like, wow, you guys, like, we've been waiting all this time for another Chaos Primarch, and you give us fucking Lorgar? F that, man. Lorgar, have you read Betrayer? Sorry, not Betrayer, The First Heretic, which is like his Black Library novel in the Horse Heresy. It's like one of the worst novels. He's such a little emo kid too. He gets his toys broken by the Ultramarines, and he just goes and pouts, and basically, like, goes basically to the Chaos Library and just like does nothing for the rest of the Heresy. He's so lame. And like he's supposed to be a demon prince, but like what has he done since the heresy? You never read about anything. Angron, Magnus, Mortarion, you hear about them. Perturabo, you hear about a little bit. Fulgrim, you hear about. Obviously, Horus is dead. Obviously, Conrad Cruz is dead. And Alfarius is Alfarius, so you probably heard of him, you just didn't know it. Um, but what has the fucking Lorgar done? Yeah, I mean, Angron at least invaded. Like, look, here's the thing. I'd much rather have a Fulgrim model than an Angron model, but if they release either an Angron or a Fulgrim, I'll be very fucking excited. Either if they do World Eaters or Emperor's Children, I'll be super stoked and I'll collect them for sure. Um, the problem is I just don't think I don't know what GW's like strategy is with like the Primarchs. So it's been 5 years since. So what was it? Magnus, Gilliman, and Mortarion basically came up back to back to back. Magnus came first, and then I think Mortarion and Gilliman came right around the same time at the start of 8th. And then that's almost 5 years, right? Um, and I know like obviously they can't release a Primarch. They obviously can't release a Primarch every month, right? Or even every year. But I think because like at some point they're gonna run out of Primarchs, right? There's only what? Let's see. How many are alive still? There's 7 Chaos Primarchs because 2 are dead. No, 2 are dead, right? So the 7 Chaos Primarchs. And then for the good guys, the only ones that could conceivably come back would be Lionel Johnson, who's alive in the Rock, Lehman Russ, who disappeared into the Warp, Dakan, who disappeared into the Warp, uh, um, Korax, who disappeared into the Warp, basically, nevermore. Um, what's his name? Stoic, Rogel Dorn, who technically, I think he may be dead, but he's missing a hand. Yeah, I think I said Corvus. Um, um, the Raven Guard guy, so he disappeared in the warp. Lehman Russ is like rumored to be dead, but not confirmed to be dead, so he could potentially come back. And then Vulcan. So there's 6, and then Gilliman 7. So we've only lost. Who have we lost from the good guys? Ferrus Manus is dead, and Sanguinius is dead. So there's 7 on both sides, and all the ones except Ferrus Manus and Sanguinius are potentially like if they can like retcon like all the other shit that they retcon, if they can retcon the entire global campaign, the 13th Black Crusade, they can fucking retcon one of the Primarchs coming back with any story reason. The warp is one of those things where it's like time travels differently, right? So you could literally say that like you could flash back to a story of like Lehman Russ and have him like I don't know, step through a warp portal and arrive to 11,000 years after he leaves, right? Like there's no reason that there's no background reason besides the ones. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say even res. I don't want the ones that are dead to come back because they're dead. But for any of the ones that are like ambiguously dead or disappeared, there's no reason you can't. I could write a story in like 30 minutes that would be very convincing of like how they came back. Like it wouldn't be hard, right? It's just the story is not that because it's so vague, their disappearances. I bet you I could write a short story for each of the Primarchs. Yeah, Vulcan's an Eternal. Apparently, I mean, I don't want to spoil Fury of Magnus, but you find out what he's up to in Fury of Magnus, which is the most recent Siege of Terra book. So I don't want to spoil it for those that haven't read it, but he's still alive in that, is all I'll say. And he participates in the Scouring, um, which is way after the Horus Heresy as far as the background's concerned. So he could come back easily. Like as I'm saying, it's not a matter of like a background reason. It's just a matter of like, do you want them to come back or not? Because there really isn't any sort of background reason that you couldn't bring them back. It would be very like easy to bring them back with just like literally like if, there's so much stuff, so much shit that GW retcons that like that would be one of the easiest things to justify, right? So put it in a White Dwarf article, right? And we're just talking about the ones that we know are like ambiguously disappeared. The lion is literally like in the rock and he's like asleep. So that would be the easiest. Lehman Russ, they've been teasing Lehman Russ returning for the Wolf Time or whatever for like 3 codexes. So it's not like they haven't dropped those breadcrumbs, right? Same with Fulgrim, like he's been cited in like there's a few stories in like Psychic Awakening, I think, where they literally are like, yeah, there's like a giant snake dude with wings and four arms and swords, uh, killing everyone in this like sector, and it's like literally described Fulgrim to a T. So it's like he's, and they don't call him Fulgrim, but they like basically say that it's Fulgrim without saying it. So he's like active and engaged in current affairs as far as 40k is concerned. Um, so when they actually bring him, I mean, I don't know, but if they try to like milk that for like fucking 6 more editions, I'm gonna be pissed. And I swear to God, if and whenever 10th, well, I know 10th edition come out, so it's not a matter of if whenever the fuck 10th edition comes out, if they fucking retcon us another 10 years back to the start of the Indominus Crusade, I'm gonna lose it. The thing that was so cool about 8th edition was that um, it moved the timeline forward 200 years. It broke the Imperium in half. Cadia finally fell. Like all this cool shit happened. And then when 9th released, they basically retconned it. They're like, oh yeah, it's not actually 200 years ahead. It's actually only like 10 years ahead. So all the time that would have kind of elapsed since the Citrix Maledictum or whatever, they just basically retconned out. See, that's how easy they retcon shit. So no worries if you want to bring a Primarch back. Fuck, you could bring Sanguinius back, I bet, with some dumbass reason, and people would be like, yeah, okay, sounds checks out. The story checks out, It doesn't even have to be something like outlandish. People would probably just accept it with like no question because they're so used to like GW retconning shit. But I started reading Aramin by John French. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. So it's like the Armin trilogy. I can't say like, and I thought I'd enjoy it a lot more because I love Armin and I love Thousand Suns, obviously. So far, I'm about 6 hours into the first audiobook, and it's a slightly older book. It's I think it's maybe like the first book was maybe released like 7 or 8 years ago, so it's not super new. But the whole trilogy is out, and I got it on Audible. So I've been listening to that, and I don't know. I think it may be the narration, the narrator. Sometimes like even if the my back, even if the like story is cool, sometimes I find if the narrator, and that's one of the problems with audiobooks, if the narrator's like not quite on it or great, it can sometimes like make it not enjoyable to listen to. And I mostly listen to Horus Heresy books, who has I think Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks? No, who the fuck does all the Horus Heresy ones? Where's my Audible app? Jonathan Keeble. Jonathan Keeble does all the Horus Heresy ones. Jonathan Banks, you know who Jonathan Banks is? Jonathan Banks is the fucking guy from Breaking Bad, the old dude who plays Mike. And I know that because I was watching an episode of Better Call Saul, so that's why I got it confused. So Jonathan Banks is like Jonathan Keeble is an amazing narrator, and I love everything that he does. And so going from him to this, the guy that narrates it called Mark Elstraub, the Airman book, it's not as good, right? Like the I don't know. I don't know if it's just like I'm just so used to Jonathan Keeble, but there's something about his voice that just is not as enjoyable. So, but I'm getting through it. The story's starting to pick up a bit, and it's kind of cool to see Armin kind of like, I guess this is like right after or close to after the rubric. So he's a bit in the dog. I won't spoil too much, but he's basically in the dog pound with the Thousand Suns and kind of in hiding. And basically, like, I guess it's going to be, the book is mostly about like him returning to prominence and power and kind of coming out of hiding to like start his quest to reverse the rubric. So I'm pretty sure after the rubric and Magnus basically kicked him out of the planet of sorcerers, I'm pretty sure he was in like so much shit that they were like, if you show up again, we're gonna kill you. And yeah, so he basically fucks off to like the middle of nowhere and hides. And so this is kind of like his return. So I'll get through it for sure because I enjoy the audiobooks, but I did actually really enjoy, and I think I may have mentioned this in a previous show, but Penitent by Dan Abnett, which is the book 3 of the Beckwin trilogy, which is the third trilogy in the Eisenhorn trilogy. God, whenever I try to go through what book it is, it's basically book 7 of 9 in What would a 9 book trilogy call a 9 book series called? Uh, is there a word for that? Like a 9 book trilogy. Nineology? What's a nenology? Is that a thing? 9 book trilogy. Ology. I don't know I don't know if there's an ology for that word. Are you reading a book called Karn, Richard? Is that what you're talking about, or just in general, like in various books you like reading Karn's fight scenes? Eniology. Dude, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Eniology? That sounds dumb. Anyways, it's basically book 7 of an Eniology or nine book series, or um, and um, it's narrated by this woman named uh, Helen Keeley, I think. Oh, God, man, these British names. Helen Keeley, and obviously the main character in the trilogy is Elizabeth Beckwin, who is most famously a pariah, which is a psychic blank, and she's not like a Sister Silence, she's just like a regular human pariah, and she's like the main protagonist, and the narrator Helen Keeley does like such a good job. Like the cool thing about the Eisenhorn trilogy is they're all done in like the stories are in first person, so it's really cool having like a female narrate the story in first person versus like a guy, because it really like puts you into like her like the story a lot more, um, than say like if sometimes like in the like Horus Heresy books, the guy narrators will like pretend to like when they're narrating a part by a female, they'll be like, and the lady came, like they just talk like in kind of like their like dude's female voice, and I always find it like really funny when like they're like the like old this like old British dude is like pretending to be like a 9-year-old girl in the story, and he's got like his 9-year-old girl voice. It's pretty funny, so I always enjoy that, um like hearing that narration. So I would highly recommend the Eisenhorn trilogy for anyone that is into 40k if you have not read it. The audiobooks are excellent. The physical books are excellent. Um, there's also an Amazon series apparently getting produced, live action Eisenhorn series produced. I just read an article on kind of like an update on it, so that'll be super cool when it comes out. It's gonna be kind of a like I don't want to say cyberpunk because 40k is not cyberpunk, but like yeah, I guess grimdark. It'll be like a grimdark crime thriller, uh, where Eisenhorn basically, and I'm not sure what time period of his life it'll cover. Um, I don't think it's the plan is that it like follows the novels. Like it's not going to be like the Witcher series or like Game of Thrones, where the TV series is just basically like a version of the novels. From what I understand, and I could be totally wrong here, but the Eisenhorn TV series is actually going to be so in the Eisenhorn trilogy, there's like the first 3 books, which is Xenos, Malleus, and Hereticus. Those are the first 3 books. And there's a fairly large time jump in between the books. So in the first book, which is Xenos, he basically starts out as like a novice inquisitor. And sorry if you guys have read these books and I'm boring you. He starts out like kind of a novice inquisitor and he's quite like pure. And then kind of throughout the books, like one of the main kind of storylines is like of Eisenhorn is like his kind of fall from a Puritan kind of like very like goody two shoes inquisitor to basically like a heretic a heretical inquisitor that like uses all sorts of like Xenos tech and like aliens and demon hosts and stuff like that, and kind of how he goes from like very like naive and like idealistic as an inquisitor to this like kind of dark and grizzled and like uh, very like I guess do whatever it takes mentality and like uh, what's the saying from Batman where it's um, like it's something about like becoming the villain, like where you like you live long enough, like if you live long enough, like you basically become the villain. So he kind of becomes the villain in his own story, Eisenhorn, because he starts off very pure, and then he goes over the course of the 3 novels, he becomes more and more radical, and he gets radicalized by like what he sees, the people he loses. Lots of people die in those books, like lots of, it's very Game of Thrones esque. And I guess what I'm hoping is because there's a huge time jump in between, like I think book 2 and 3, sorry, book 1 and 2, there's definitely like a time jump. I don't think it's massive, but it's like upwards of like a few decades maybe. Actually, let me look it up for you guys because I feel like I want to be accurate. Eisenhorn time jump. Okay, so let me just see here. Da, da, da. No, what's the time jump in Eisenhorn? It's not quite clear. So, okay, so the first book, okay, here it is. So in the first book is set in 198 Millennium 41, and the second book is in 240, so it's a 42-year time jump. And then the third book is in the year 312, so it's another 60 years. So there's basically, by the time between the first book and the third book, there's basically a 110-year gap, right? And so what I'm really hoping that the novels or the TV series covers is like the time in between. I don't really want it to be like just a rehash of the books. Although I do hope like obviously various book characters make an appearance. If it expands on some parts of the novels, that like I just honestly the thing is like the novels themselves are they're so good that I almost don't want them to like ruin the novels with like their like shitty TV adaptations. I'd much rather it be like the time in between where he's like basically on his like basically inquisitorial adventures, and I'm hoping like maybe they do split it up where like the first season's like in that first like 30-year period, and then the second, or sorry, not the first season, but like maybe the first few seasons are like that first 30-year period. Then maybe like the second and third or fourth seasons are like after um yeah, exactly. It's huge. It's a bit time jump, Brian. But I'm hoping like the second book is maybe like the time in between books 2 and 3, and then maybe book 3 is like after book, uh, like maybe like seasons 5 and 6 are like after book 3. So like each like few seasons is like him as the Inquisitor he becomes during those books. So like the first, let's say 2 seasons, let's say it's 6 seasons. The first 2 seasons would be like Eisenhorn as he was in Xenos, so around the time of Xenos. And then in book like seasons 3 and 4 would be like Eisenhorn after Malleus, which is the second book. And then seasons like 5 and 6 would be like Eisenhorn after Hereticus. So in each of those 2 seasons, you see his kind of gradual, decline and kind of go towards like the dark side essentially. And during those seasons, it's like him solving crimes, him like tracking down heretics, mutants, and aliens. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be a lot cooler than like doing just like a straight up adaptation of the novels. First of all, because the novels are super long, people are going to complain. I think Dan Abnett did an amazing job. Um, if some of the seasons like maybe either bleed into the novels or start right after the novels, that would be cool, where they do reference like a lot of the stuff that happens in the novels. But as much as I want to see an adaptation of the novels on screen, I kind of feel like I'd much rather have new stories and like new coolness, I guess, than just an adaptation of the novels. So, what do you guys think? Do you think it should be the novels, or do you think it should just be like its own series that's kind of like separate and independent? I just feel like if it's separate, it gives them way more room for like storytelling too, because they can kind of do all sorts of different types, styles of shows. They can do like, obviously it's going to be a crime show, but they could do like all sorts of different adventures, I guess, almost like CSI. It's like Crime Scene Inquisitor instead of Crime Scene Investigation. You know, 40k edition. You think it's safer? Apparently, like Dan Abnett is actually like writing the novels with them, and like there's got some pretty like intense screenwriters. Or sorry, not writing the novels with them. Apparently, Dan Abnett is actually working with them on the episodes. Like he's involved with because obviously he's the author, right? So I'm hoping that with his influence, he's able to kind of fill in a lot of that stuff, and it's not just like some like random like I don't know like some random writer in a writing room being like, who's never played 40k, being like, hey, how about we have Eisenhorn go on an adventure this week with like a bunch of dwarves, and they get into some tomfoolery, and then it turns into a musical episode. Like I hope it's not like shit like that, where they like do like a bunch of fucking writers that don't understand 40k start like making up all sorts of shit that would be like totally ruin it for everyone. So I am hoping that like someone like Dan Abnett is involved heavily, and he's like, no, that's the fucking dumbest thing I've ever heard, and like you're fired. Yeah, if Dan Abnett wasn't involved, I would just want them to do the novels. But since he is involved, I feel confidence that like they won't fuck it up too bad. But what do you guys think? Does everyone vote for the novels? Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see the novels, but I almost would rather it, or it'd be really cool. Okay, check this out. Here's my thought. 3 movies, and the first movie is like, oh no. The problem is you can't do the novels in a movie. Like for the first novel, I'd want like a 10-book series. 10 episode series like Game of Thrones did for the first book. You can't do justice to those books in one movie. So you'd have to do like 10 episodes. But there's only like, so ideally what they do is maybe like in a perfect world you get both. So the first maybe season is just the first novel, and then season 2 is like in between, and then season 3 is like book 2, and then season 4 is like in between, and then season 5 is book 3. So you kind of get both. That would be actually like the perfect world of Eisenhorn novels. That I'd be very happy with. That seems like very complicated. I just hope they don't water it down too much, right? Because the idea is that like these are supposed to be for like fairly mainstream. It's the reason that like they're doing it with like the Amazon guys is because this is supposed to be like the series that gets 40k to go mainstream, And I'm just worried if the novels as good as they are, they're probably a little bit too like insider baseball for like the general public. There's too much they'd have to like explain and like go through that I think would maybe ruin the novels. Like all this, there'd be like tons of exposition and tons of like, hey, what is a space marine? What is a demon? Like all this kind of shit that like is obviously not in the novels, but if they did it in the TV show, they'd have to do all that stuff, and I feel like that would kind of ruin the novels a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that they stay away from the novels. Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. Yeah, Judge Dredd is very simple. Helmet, Judge, Jury, Executioner, done. Explain the 40k universe to someone in 4 words like I just did. You can't. Alright guys, it's been 2 hours, so I am going to sign off here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, please make sure to subscribe and or like the show on the other channels. Please make sure to hit the bell icon so that you know when I'm going live. Schedule will be posted for my weekly streams every Monday. And don't forget, Tuesday, live premiere of The Politics of Plastic. And then Thursday coming up, I have Bobby Clark on the Best Overall Show. Thank you very much, guys. Love you all, and have a great weekend.